Welcome to this look at the new Pumps and Hoses Pack DLC with me, MrSealyp. Pumps and Hoses, the Pumps and Hoses Pack DLC is available. Now this is not part of the Seasons Pass, this is a separate entity that's to be purchased separately. Euros 17.99. I paid 14.99 in pounds sterling. I'm not too sure what the US conversion of that will be. We're pretty much 1-to-1 at the moment, so it's going to be around there for US dollars as well. This is going to be in two parts. This is the ultimate guide. I say guide, ultimate mod review. I've been now 4 hours prepping this, setting it up and getting my head around it. And as I said in the mod review yesterday, I haven't watched a single video. Anyone that got early access to, I haven't watched any of them. I wanted to come on. I'm on console, on PlayStation 5, to see how it was going to work on console, how to set it all up, and how it would all work. Am I going to miss something? Possibly. Part one is going to be infrastructure. It's going to be looking at all the buildings, the silos, the biogas plant, the production side of things. Part two is going to be looking at the actual pumps and hoses and reels and all the stuff that goes with it, because before you can put your slurry or digestate on the ground, you need to produce your digestate. Slurry, obviously, if you've got animals and they're producing slurry, you don't have to use this step, but it just made sense to kind of do it in this order. So we'll get cracking, shall we? As part of this pack, there are 30 plus pieces of equipment and machinery. The biogas plant must start with a fermenter, and there are a few fermenters to look at. We've got 3, I believe. We've got their Stahlkamp. Apologies if I'm saying that wrong. The Stahlkamp fermenter. There's a 20 meter, a 26 meter, and a 30. I've gone with the 26 meter. I kind of went midway for each of those. Then obviously you're going to need your piece of equipment for feeding the fermenter. This is your, well, the trough systems that on a normal biogas plant like these feed the anaerobic digesting system. These we've got V-Bios. We're going to have a look at those in just a second. I think I went for the mid-range one here as well. I think. Maybe the third one. I've gone for the V-Bio Combi 1S 1D. We'll go through all the details and the capacities and stuff in a moment. Then next to that, I've got basically a power generator, power unit. These generate electricity and heat from methane, and then they will pay you for the electricity, which is great. Around the back, we've got a gas burner that burns off any excess, prevents any accidents, methane build-up, that kind of stuff. You have to have those. There's some really cool things in the menus and stuff as well. We've got this for putting in as well. Now this is the drive-on bunker. So where you can put stuff in using these, the drive-on bunker allows you to open that, back up, and put solids in there. Now, there is a bit of a drawback we'll talk about in a moment as well. I know I'm kind of just whizzing round, but we'll go into more detail on each one, absolutely. We've got our silos, which will do liquid fertilizer, so slurry or digestate, these will hold. And then we've got separators, which we're going to have a look at in a moment as well. And I've got a load of them all sort of placed out, so we'll have a look. One thing I haven't been able to do yet, and I'm sure when I watched all the first videos on FarmCon and then the subsequent stuff coming out, saying that you could attach umbilical hoses directly to the main processing unit and run them out to the fields. I haven't been able to attach a hose yet. I've tried at the various different locations and haven't managed to do it, but I have managed to get it to work from the various different pumps. So that may be the one thing I haven't managed to crack. So what we're going to do is I'm going to back up into a bit of space. We'll go into build mode. What I'm going to show you as well, which is really cool, is when you look above in build mode, it tells you what each of the things are. Now, I haven't come across that before on mods and things, but it tells you all the various different components we've got in place already. And if we come down to here as well, we've got some bits. We've got a liquid manure tank there. So as you can see, we've got liquid manure tanks open. We've got liquid manure tanks closed. We'll have a look at those all in detail. So what I'm going to show you is kind of setting up, and move right out of the way, something of the way. Setting up each of these things as we go. If we go into build mode, we go to not animals, we go to production. Right there. Into factories, and along we go. So it starts there with the Stahlkamp. and that's the separators. We're going to go past those to start off with, and we're going to move on to the fermenters. So as I said, we've got the 20 meter, the 26 meter, or the 30 meter fermenter, and these are just capacities as well. That one's 7 slots, that one's 6 slots, that one is 7 slots. You have to have one of these for the system to work. Now, I haven't checked. All I'm doing is looking at the pumps and hoses DLC. I haven't looked yet because the minefield that it opens up with all the various different BGAs, all the modded BGAs, will it work in conjunction with all those? Potentially. That's going to be testing that would need to be done separately because there's so much to be getting on with on here. So I'm going to place the largest one, 260 grand, 360 grand, or 430 grand. And it does come down to capacities. So what we'll do is we'll swing that round and we'll put that fermenter just there because we need a fermenter. That's great. The next thing we're going to need is something to allow us to put in to the fermenter. So we've got the BVL, I don't know, tanks, holders, transfer bunkers, whatever you want to refer to them. So we've got the V-Bio 30. That is a 30,000 litre capacity. That is 4 slots, 87,300. We've got the BVL 60. That's a 60,000 litre capacity. Also 4 slots, 145,200. We've got the V-Bio Combi 1S1D, which is one I went for. That's got 60,000 litre capacity as well, just a little bit bigger, and 136,500 to buy. So it's actually cheaper than that one. Same capacity, which is interesting. And then we've got that one is was that 7 slots? I think it might have been 7 slots. Or was that 4 as well? That one's 4. This one is 7. The V-Bio Combi 2S2D. That's got 150,000 litre capacity. It's 285,500. Like I say, that is 7 slots. We'll put in the large one. Why not? So what's great about this is if you put it too far away, it will say it's too far away. So there's plenty of clues to help you. Fermenter too far away for feeding pipe. When you get closer, it automatically puts the feeding pipe on. And then when you move it around, if I rotate it as well, it will move the pipe accordingly. It's brilliant. It's so well done. So you've got quite a bit of room and quite a bit of movement for setting up how you want. I'm going to move it around to the side so we've still got access to other bits there. So let's just put it to the side. There. Brilliant stuff. Right, so that's the first 2 things we're going to need. Now, if we move back along here, we then come to 2G. Now 2G, these are the generators that generate electricity and heat from methane. So we've got the Agenitor 408. That's 5 slots. That one is 6 slots, the Avis 500 Plus, and then we've got the Avis 800B, which is 700,000, that's 7 slots. So 5, 6 and 7 slots. And this is just all down to the capacity and the amount it will produce as you go along. So it depends on what size. I went for that one. We'll go for the large one here. It doesn't really matter again. It may overlap. You can also, when it says overlap with something else, you can get in fairly close, but you can also press the toggle free mode, top left, if you've got the control option open. You can adjust it if you want to put it closer. But so wherever you want to put it, I'm going to just put it around to the side. Let's put it there. Actually, I think I might put that around the wrong way, haven't I? Because I now can't get to the... oh no, I can just access it, can't I? Because that's just going to produce anyway. So that's the third component. Now, you don't have to have that component if you don't want to. If you don't want to produce electricity, you just want the methane, and you can sell the methane, you can. But if you want that, you can run that if you want. So that's the third item we're going to be putting on. Then we're going to be looking at our tanks in just a moment. We'll move on to separators in a second as well. So, as well as that, we've got the DOB, the drive-on bunker. That's 179,000, 115,000 litre capacity. You want it swung around that way because the metal plate at the front. Again, this has a pipe because it feeds in, and you can put it wherever you want. You've got a bit of distance on that, but again, the feed pipe will allow you to place it wherever you want to place it, which is great. So I'm just going to stick it there for the time being. Why not? We'll look at separators in just a moment, but what we're going to do is come out of there, go to buildings, and now we're going to go to silos because we're going to move on to the silo section. So under style camp, we've got our liquid manure tanks. Now these ones, the first ones, we've got covered and uncovered. These start at 606,000 litres. So the first one, I think these were all, where are we? The first ones were 6 slots. So each of these was 6. Each of these was 9, I think. Might have been 8, 8 and 9. So not horrendous on the slot count. So we got 606,000 litre, 1,697,000 litre, and a 3,610,000 litre. Capacities are the same on those three. The difference is one's open, one's closed. Then we move on to the next lot. These first ones start at 952,000 litres. That one was, I think these are 8 slots for each of those, and then the open ones start at 952,000 as well. These were 9 slots each, so 8s and 9s. So this range, we've got 952,000 litres, 2,141,000 litres, 3,599,000 litres. Again, we've got open and closed options, so it depends what we want to go for. I'm going to go for that one. Prices are all underneath there, so we've got, obviously the open ones are cheaper because they haven't got a cover on them. The covered ones are more expensive. I'm going to go for that one. We'll stick it next to it. It says overlaps with another object, so I can put it right around the back. It doesn't have to be, but it is right there. Done. So that in essence is our setup. You've got your fermenter, you've got your system for putting into the fermenter, whether it be that one there, which will do solids, that one there, which does solids, but you can also put your liquid, your slurry in on this one here. We've got our electricity generator, and then we've got our slurry tank, storage tank. Now what I haven't put in, I'm going to back up to production, is the gas torch. So I'm going to put the gas torch around the back. It doesn't really matter where that goes, you can put that wherever you want. Gas torch is in. Brilliant. Now there's a couple of things to talk about. These, obviously this is the larger one. You're going to need to use conveyor belt or wheel loader, buckets, or a ramp or something like that, because there's no trigger when you pull up alongside them. If you want to do that, that's what this is for. So you open that up. In either case, the processing speed is really slow. So these have a capacity, that one being 115,000 litres, and that one, what did we go for? We went for that's 150,000 litres. Once those are full, they take quite a while to chug away to put into the fermenter. So it's not an instantaneous thing. However, there is a way round it if you want a way round it. So what we're going to do is go into here and manage production. And this is where we look at our menus. That's interesting. It's linked them all together. So I could run multiple fermenters all together. I hadn't checked that before because I assumed it would put the fermenters separate and the power plants separate, but it's actually linked them all together. Wow, okay. So as you can see, the recipe, now the recipe is showing all of those things because I've got all of the things in there. If you look to the right hand side, we've got sugar beet cut, silage, manure and slurry. That's in the first one. I've got some digestate being produced and methane being produced. That's because I've got the first system, the first plant running. If you only had silage in here, the recipe would only be showing silage in. So the recipe would say silage and then whatever it would be coming out. If you've got silage and manure, the recipe would show silage and manure. So there's not lots of separate recipes. It just depends what things you've got in there will govern that. But what's interesting is where down the bottom it says utilization. So your fermenters, it tells you whether the fermenter's running or not. Your bunker, it will tell you if that's running or not and whether it's running okay or not. Your cogeneration plant, that's what produces the electricity from the methane, whether that's running or not. That says it's not at the moment. Then your torches. So that gas burner says it's burning 50% of methane production. Now the problem is if you remove those, it says at the bottom they are required. So you straight away start thinking, but if I didn't have that, I'd be getting 100% of my methane, but it says you need to have them. So what's weird now is, because that's all installed, so what I'm going to do very quickly, just so we can get a more kind of optimized view of it all, just going to remove all of those. We'll have a look at the ones I've already got installed. But that's how you set them all up to start off with. So Switch back over to this one. If we open up the menu, there we go. So that's what we've got running at the moment. Now, capacities for this one. Now, obviously, there are 3 fermenters. I've already said the 20 metre, the 26 metre, and the 30 metre. I've got the 26. The 26 metre one will take 24,300 litres of sugar beet cut. Silage, it will do 204,600, which hasn't moved, which considering... Oh, that's weird. It's turned off. That hasn't moved. Why is that? Oh, I know why it hasn't moved. It's all right. Ignore me. Manure, that will hold 48,600, and slurry 48,600. So that's on the middle one, the 26 metre. The 20 metre will be slightly less. The 30 metre will be slightly more. But as you can see, fermenter is running 100%. Bunkers says it's running perfect, 83%. My plant's not running. I haven't set my power plant up to run yet. And torches are burning, which is great. Now my digestate I can set to storing. I can set it to selling, distributing, or distributing across the biogas plant. So if you've got other tanks, rather than just set to distribute, you can set it to distribute amongst the biogas plant and not go elsewhere, which is a really nice feature as well. And the same with the methane, we've got storing, selling, distributing. So if you've got somewhere else you can set it to, or distribute across the biogas plant. Now again, I haven't checked to see whether that will work with other mods. So if there's methane storage tanks and things, will it distribute to methane storage tanks? That will be a separate test. I'm just looking specifically at, like I said, at the mod itself. So we have got options for all the various different things on there. If I turn the power plant on now, it will take, hopefully, so the power plant's got methane as an incoming material, and that will then generate electricity. So for 646 methane, 5,500 of electricity, and on the hour you'll get paid for the electricity that's being produced, which is great. But like I said, you're going to need conveyor belts, ramps, or buckets to load into that, and they are slow. The reason my silage is saying 204,600 and hasn't moved is because I've got silage in there, and that is gradually chugging away, and I've filled that with silage, and that's gradually chugging away as well. So every time this is using any silage, it's being replaced by the silage that's in these. That's the only downside to it. But that was the other thing I was going to show you, wasn't I? I just remembered. Let's go back to the fermenters, because this is quite important. I say quite important, it's very important. Let's pick that one and place that. We go into our menu. Now, if we go up to our fermenters, we go across there. I can fill those up, of course I can. But if you look bottom left, it says buy. So if you think, oh, I want to run this, but I really can't be bothered, which you can do if you want to. Or it's taken a long time to process and you think, oh man, it's taken ages to process. You can buy the products you need from empty. So there, I can adjust, like you can with fuel tanks and things like that. I can buy it in. So I can fill my tanks up without actually having to put anything in myself if I don't want to. So if I buy that now, I've filled it up. I can do the same with my silage, L3, buy. My manure. And then my slurry. So now it's all full. And that can chug away now, quite happily. And I haven't had to actually use the input bunkers. So I guess technically you could avoid having one of these and one of these and just buy it all directly if you wanted to. I mean, this is more immersive and more realistic. So at the moment, that's all processing. We've got digestate in there. That's great. Okay, now we're going to have a look at these tanks, because there's something else strange. I'm going to say strange. You can fill these tanks up separately. You don't have to do it for the biogas plant. So your storage tanks can be used as a storage tank. Now, the other thing I haven't tried, again, I'm looking at this mod, not other mods. I haven't tried to see whether or not you can just place these independently as, normally it's extension tanks you want to be looking at, whether or not you can put them next to cow barns and stuff, and will they be good for that? Now, here's the weird thing. I've got 50,000 litres of slurry in this tanker. If I put digestate into these tanks, and you can put either in, it will take slurry or digestate, and it kind of just mixes it all together. Because at the moment that's saying digestate, 751,000 litres. That's what that is holding. I've got 50,000 litres in that tank, so that should take me to 800, shouldn't it? 801,000 litres. Watch this not work now. So I'm going to unload my slurry into that tank. Now, whether it's specifically, whether it's supposed to be for digestate only, but it's taking slurry, and now look, that's saying 918,000 litres. So somehow, my 50,000 litres went to 150,000. I don't know whether it's going to have an update or not. I don't know. But if you want loads of digestate, get this pack, put these in place and put your slurry into them, and your slurry automatically turns the digestate in there. It's very strange. I have put a mixture of slurry and digestate in there, but it's all saying digestate, and I'm getting way more in. It's odd. I'm not quite sure why it's doing it. I'm going to be honest, I don't know why it's doing it. What I am going to do is take some of that out. Right. So what we're going to look at now is the separators. So the separator units, and these are designed to take slurry or digestate, and I've got it to work on both, and transform that. It takes basically any solid mass, or whether it dries it down, and it will give you manure. As you can see, that one's got a little bit in it. That one's saying separated manure, 132 litres. That one is saying separated manure, 44 litres. That one is still running, as you can see. That's got 3,334 litres of separated. Now that looks different to regular manure. So here's the thing about it. If we go into our menus and we go to, for example, our manure spreaders, we've got a new icon. Bottom right, you've got usual manure one, and then you've got one there that shows a sort of smaller thing in front, which means it's separated. So that's separated manure. And that's what these separators will do. So if you don't want to use your digestate or slurry put on the fields, you can just separate it and get manure from it by using the separators. But what you do need to have is either a tank or a tanker or some source of slurry or digestate right next to them. This one I've placed right next to that. So this tank is gradually being used to produce that. Now if we come around to the side, we can turn the separator on or off. You'll know if you're not close enough, because when you go to turn it on, it won't work. The only way it will work is if you're close enough. So the separators, then we've got 4 of. So we'll go back into our productions and we go down to our factories. So we start with the style camp stationary separator. That's the tower. So that's the separated tower. That's got a capacity of 20,000 litres for storage, 40 grand to buy, 6 slots. We've got the separator box. That's got a 35,000 litre capacity, 6 slots, 25 grand. And then we've got the stationary separator. That is the separator hall, 45,000 litre capacity, 7 slots, 25 grand to buy. Sorry, 60 grand to buy. That one's 25. 60 grand to buy. So that's those 3, which are stationary. Those 3 there. This one is separate, and that's a mobile one that can be picked up with forks. I use the big bag handler, so that can be taken around wherever you want and put next to tankers, tanks, whatever you want, and you can produce it. So what I'm going to do is bring a tanker next to it. That one you'll find under tools and miscellaneous. There you go. The is it PSS or PS5? What was it? No, P5S. I've got it written down on my list somewhere. It might just be PSS. The PSS MEL4/5.5 550. 50 grand, no options on it. You get it just like that. So what we'll do is grab that. Now you might not want to use the separators. You might decide, well, I want to use my digestate. If I'm using pumps and hoses, I want my digestate or my slurry for spreading on the fields. I don't want to turn it into manure. And that's fine. Now as you can see with this one, I'm using the big bag handler, but you can use forks. I can pick that up, I can move it around, I can put it on a trailer, I can strap it down, and I can, you know, do whatever I want with it. That's great. Let's just drop that off. We've already seen the separator hall is attached next to that big tank, which is fine. and I've got one of those tower separators over there next to our main setup. I can turn that on whenever I want, and that's chugging away out of there. But if I bring my tanker next to it, now I've got to make sure I'm right up next to it. You might not want to do it from a tanker. It's better. You're better off doing it from a storage tank rather than a tanker, but you can if you want to. Hoping that's going to be close enough just there. But that should give me the option to turn on. Now, where's that? Now, that's gone. Why has my option disappeared? That's odd. While I'm doing this and prepping this, Giants have dropped mods early, including 3 new maps. Happy days. Let's try that again. There we go, turn on separator. There we go. So with that tanker right next to it, the separator's now turned on. It takes a while, they're quite slow, they're not mega fast, it's not going to vroom and suddenly fill up. But that is taken from that tanker and it is separating out or drying down the matter. Yeah, when it says separating, you would think it would separate out the solid matter and the liquid matter would go somewhere else, but as far as I can tell, it just disappears because there's no option here. I can turn it on or off, but I can't control what it does. And whilst the pipe's going to the ground, unless it's recirculating somewhere, but I haven't seen it doing that. So that's that one, and it works the same with the stationary tower, and provided I get close enough, it should work with this one as well. It was a bit temperamental when I did try and set it up, so let's see how this goes. Turn on separator, there we go. So the mobile one is taken from that tanker. No problem at all. There we go. Got some on the ground already. So that's the mobile one. Let's turn that off. Now there is a minor problem with that I have come across. So let's go up to here. Because I thought, well, it's all dropping on the floor though. If I put a trailer underneath it, I'll catch it in the trailer. So I put a trailer underneath it. It went straight through the trailer onto the ground. So it completely ignored the fact there was a trailer under there. So I thought, okay, maybe it's the trailer. So I got a muck spreader and put that under there. It went straight through the muck spreader and onto the ground. So as far as I can tell, it won't unload into the trailers. You have to drop it on the floor and then scoop it up and then put it into a trailer. So what I'm going to do, because I'm now worried that the trailers won't hold it. Although, I will show you this. If we go up to our trailers, you should see on each of the trailers now, so it scrolls across at the bottom, the new icon is just there, next to the lime, as being an option. So it's showing that all these trailers should be taking it, but it won't. It doesn't seem to want to take it directly from the pipe, which is a peculiar one. I'm not too sure why it's doing that. So I'm just going to go and grab a bucket and bring it over, scoop some up and try and put it into one of the trailers just to make sure. But that pretty much covers the infrastructure. From our fermenter, our input into the fermenter, whether it be that one or both or none if you want to buy directly. And I think that's a brilliant feature. The ability to have the fermenter, go into the menu and buy the product you want. That's awesome. I also like the fact you can link these together. Like I say, I was setting this all up as one system, didn't think to check, but the fact you can put them all out and it will link them all as one big facility. We'll get our power generator, which will do our electricity, and on the hour we'll get paid for it. And then we've got our gas flow. Now the other thing I haven't shown you is these. These are the concrete pigs. I don't think these are movable once they're in place. Now these are designed to be put in place to stop people crashing into bits of your building. You know, we've got EU ones and we've got US ones. These were under build mode. Were they decoration? I think they were decoration. There we go. These were 2 slots each. For the first one, slot count comes down to 1, 250 each. You get your pig, we can rotate it around and then place it wherever you want to protect things. If there aren't already things there for protection, you know, just to stop stuff being crashed into. So you've got your EU pig and we've got our US pig, whichever you'd rather go for. The other thing I was going to say, was it with the separators? If we go across to there, I'm sure the separator was 90 degrees only. Yeah, they're 90-degree turns, so you haven't got a 360-degree rotation, they're 90-degree turns only. And there might have been the same for... Was it the box? Oh no, that was a rotation. Yeah, so it's just the separator that were 90 degrees. I can go back and double check that one as well. Yeah, that's 90 degrees too. And that one, no, that's a rotation. So that can be rotated any direction. So I'm going to go and grab a bucket and let's check out and see whether or not we can pick up this manure off the floor and whether or not the trailers will take it from a bucket rather than taking it directly from there. Bear with me a moment. Okay, we're here. Now something I did just notice when I was going to collect equipment, if we go into, well, so I'll look at wheel loaders, but the high dump bucket, as we go across, it does show the new icon for separated manure. If we go to the silage forks, which normally do manure, those aren't showing the icon for separated manure. So you're probably going to have to go for a bucket rather than the silage forks. Let me just check the bucket there. I think it will show the new icon. Yep. That one doesn't, the manure fork. It's interesting, manure fork, but it doesn't show, doesn't do the separate manure. So what we'll do is scoop that a little bit up. There we go, 349 litres. Will that now go into here and not just fall straight through? It will. Okay. So your muck spreaders, manure spreaders will use the separated manure. What I'm going to do is just whiz and grab some out of that separator hole and just check the trailer as well. Just for being, you know, certain, you know. I know I'm not always, but honestly, this has been a mind melt. Just trying to get my head around all of it and set it all up and then do it in a way that sort of makes sense. You're in for a treat in part 2. I have to say, this is next level stuff. We haven't had the manure system, that was my Wopster, wasn't it, on console. That's been a PC thing. But the umbilical hose situation, it's so clever, and the way it works. So please come back for part 2, because part 2 is brilliant. Well, it will be brilliant. I say it is brilliant. I haven't done it yet, but it will be brilliant. So let's whiz around and just double check that. Don't see any reason why it wouldn't, but just to be on the safe side. There we go. So we'll go into it, just for some reason was falling straight through there. It is what it is. So there we go. That's part 1. Pumps and Hoses Pack DLC Infrastructure. Part 2. Do I tease you? Do we have a look? Whoa, we've got all this cool stuff. I'll see you on the next one. I hope you found this useful and informative in some way, shape or form. If you have, please give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free. And if you want to share this video, then please be my guest. Whatever you should choose to do. Thanks for watching.